We are now live.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found.
Faster than light, spaceship of the future.
By direction of the President of the United States, stay in your home.
Is it human or inhuman? Earthly or unearthly?
Born in that swirling inferno of radioactive dust, there is no word to describe them.
We may be witnesses to a biblical prophecy come true.
Why is it that we usually ignore the fourth dimension?
Is this the human race of the future?
On the border, dude. On the boater.
I've always liked that intro thing.
Well, thank you, my friend. It's pretty cool. I mean, I like it too. I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
But anyways, what's up, people? Welcome back to another episode of Aliens on the Butter. Hanging out with us today.
On the butter. I'm not changing that.
It's staying the same. I don't like it. I like to say it that way too. And Roger, hi, how are you?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Today we have a very, you know what, funny story. Wait, let me just introduce you first of all. Steven Sosa, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey,
what's
y'all
going
doing,
on?
guys?
Local comedian,
Yes, sir.
extraordinaire,
Oh, thank you.
ex-guitar player.
Yes, I was. Well, I'll still play it.
Okay, still plays guitar. Always has cool T-shirts on. Seen him at several different Dos Leones shows. It's actually
One of my favorite bands.
I always see you with that shirt, actually. You're always wearing it. You were wearing it last night, actually.
Rep
at the
it.
open mic, yeah.
Sometimes you gotta
they gave me
represent.
that one actually at the last show they were at because I lost my other one.
No shit.
And I was so mad that I didn't get
Do
to.
you have one?
I don't have
I
one,
have an
no.
extra one.
Ooh, I'm down, dude.
All right.
Yeah,
Can you
dude.
rock an XO?
I'm maybe
Shout out
can.
Dos Leones.
Like a little,
got you.
like a little sausage, but I might, dude.
Hey, sausage link.
There you go. But anyways, dude, super funny story. I don't know if you remember this, but way back in the day, right when I had just started Aliens on the Border, I remember I was at On the Rocks Tavern downtown, and you were there with Aaron, and I just went up to both of y'all and I was like, "Hey, you guys are comedians, right?" And then I was like, y'all were, or Aaron was like, "Yeah, dude, we're having a conversation. Hold on." And I was like, "Okay, thanks, bro." And
Sounds like
then,
Aaron.
yeah. So this is before I hadn't formally met Aaron or anything like that.
Right,
It was
right,
just a random ass night that I just went up to them at the bar.
That's true. I remember
And
that. Yeah.
So I go up to y'all and I'm like, "Oh, hey, so I have a podcast, dude. Y'all should come on." And yeah, so that was pretty much it. And we talked for like a second, and y'all were like, "Yeah, dude, whatever."
I think that was before you had your facial hair and stuff.
No, I definitely had facial hair. I've had a
think
beard
like a
since
mustache,
forever.
I'm just
And I haven't, upkept it properly because I've been busy as fuck these past couple of weeks. And
that was a long time ago.
yeah, but that was almost a year and some change ago because it was like right at the fucking beginning.
Yeah, no, that might have been like maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
No, it was definitely a year ago.
Was it
That
a year ago?
when I had started Aliens on the Border.
cool.
I had a couple of episodes out already, and that's how I got in contact with Aaron, and we went back and forth, and it never ended up happening until way, way later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, after we got the studio at Mount One. Anyways, so long time in the making this episode, actually, and yeah,
Yeah.
that was one of the times that I had to like really step out of my comfort zone and just go up to someone and be like, "Hey, I want you to be
Yeah,
on the
actually,
fucking podcast."
the first time that I think Steve and I interacted was when I had to. I was doing an interview about the comedy scene.
That's right.
With Static Age, and so I had to find out like what the hell was going on with the comedy scene here locally because I had always been interested in it. Wasn't an actual part of it at that time. So actually, I think I was invited by, if not Sarah or Joe Alex, one of those two, because they were the only two that I knew that were in the scene at the time.
I remember.
So then we got together at Cultura when it was back in the San Bernardo
That's right.
location. And then I think I met Fred, George, and Patrick in addition with you as well.
I don't think I was there for the interview.
The whole
I think I
gang.
was out of town that day.
Right. Well, I remember meeting you as a result of that. So,
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And then I just started hitting open mics, man. And
Yeah,
then I don't think have I hit the stage with you yet?
I'm not gonna lie, man. I probably don't remember if we have. I mean, of course.
And aside from
from
this
open mics and
last
stuff,
Saturday, because
yeah.
you were hosting
At Amnesia.
that's
what the fuck
true.
are y'all talking
No, this
about?
last Saturday.
Amnesia.
Yeah,
Did you?
definitely.
Was it?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was
Oh,
Amnesia. Yeah.
Amnesia, I think, was the one that I headlined. That
You
night.
headlined
Yeah,
that one.
that one.
Yeah, that's right.
I
Yeah.
was like, "Are you serious? How do
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember
Was
this?"
that was Saturday the first time you saw me host? Or you see me host, like, well, you see me host open mics.
I've seen you host open mics. I've seen you host keg stands before. I think.
Okay.
But it was the first time I saw you like host in a bar like that. So
Yeah.
it was a weird environment for me at least.
Yeah,
So
it was different for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I'm used to like if I perform at bars, it's because they're there for the comedy. This one was a benefit, so it was both like a show for like music and then just like kind of like a mixer for it was a lot of like veterans that were just there to drink, and then there just so happened to be a
Like
comedy
military
show.
veterans, right?
Yeah,
military veterans, like the Wounded Warriors, I think it was called.
Yeah, it was the Wolfhounds or some
Yeah,
shit.
Wolfhounds or something like that. Yeah. They had a cool name.
Yeah, it
sounds pretty dope.
it was kind of intimidating actually, but yeah, it was a cool little thing, man. It was a fun time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where I kind of like met you and you hung out, talked a little bit, and yeah, man. So tell us a little bit about Laredo Funny, your like venture into comedy, dude. Like I know that's something that you talk about fairly often, but
Okay. Ah, man, dude. Like, you want me to start from the beginning? You want me to start from the beginning?
Take it from the top,
Take it from
baby.
the top,
man.
Tell us the story.
Well, I've always loved comedy, and when I was, I remember I used to always go to the AJ shows every time they would have comedy, and
I didn't even know AJ's had comedy. What?
Same, bro.
Same, yeah, I know. And I was always like every I think it was every. I'm not gonna lie, it might have been every Thursday or something. They would always have something, and I remember walking up to the promoter at the time. It was a friend of mine now, and I was like, "Hey man, I've always wanted to try this." And he's like, "Cool man, give me like you want to give me like 10 minutes and you can go up." And I was like, "No, not right now."
Oh shit!
Like
Who was that?
Mario.
Mario lived here.
No, Mario would come down here. Mario Superstar. Hey, what's up? But he would come down every time to do the shows here.
Oh, really? So
yeah.
it was like he had a showcase in Laredo.
Yeah, that
What?
was his showcase. He would come down and work with AJ's.
Dang, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I was back before Laredo Funny started, and that's how I remembered. That's when I first met him. Actually, I remember I saw him and I was like, man, I want to do this. And he told me that, and I kind of got intimidated, so I didn't do it. I was like, I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you. And when I started playing in my band for about a couple of years, I got so into playing music that I was like, fuck, I can go on stage and kick. Because I was always like, when I played in my band, I was always like, you're a rock star. Fucking make them, like, if like you can hear me, let's fucking jam. That's how I was. So when I was like, I want to try comedy, because I saw it and I was like, I could do this, but I didn't want to go right away and jump into it. So I would go to San Antonio, and that was the first time I actually did comedy. Was when I went to San Antonio. I did an open mic there. I did it was the place was the River City comedy place. I'm probably not saying that right. Comedy club, and that was the first time I performed, and it was of course for 8 people. First time, and it was. I remember it was 2 comics. No, it was 4 comics. My buddy, his girlfriend, the Coke girl, and the bartender. Those are the people that were there. I still remember this to this day. And I did okay. But again, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know about the time. I went up there and I did 9 minutes. I was like, I don't know. He told me 5, but then the guy's like, just keep going.
Fuck it.
And then I'm not gonna say my first time was amazing, but I felt good about it. I remember this one guy. He was one of the comics there from like Nashville, and he was just here to just trying out material. He just told me, he's like, man, you got something. I was like, all right, fucking hey, And I got excited. I remember I called LOL the next day, trying to find out, like, hey, what's going on? I don't know if you know the guy he's like, I don't know if he's British or if he's...
Yeah, the manager, right? The dude who's he's got such a fucking proper voice.
Accent, and like...
Right.
I talked to him, I remember, and I asked him, like, well, what do I have to do comedy? He's like, well, we have open mics, and, and he was just telling me everything, and I was like, well, how do I get on the big shows? And he's like, well, if we like you, we bring you back. He was like telling me, but like nonchalantly.
Yeah.
I was like, I get it, dude. I'm not there yet, and I didn't even know about getting there yet at the time. So I remember I kept going every time. Like every time I had because I worked for the school buses, so I was always like troubled for going out of town. I had to wait for a day off. And then I went one time and I just kept putting it on Facebook, and everybody's like, when are you gonna do it in Laredo? When are you gonna do it in Laredo? And I was like, oh, I don't know yet, Finally, I text Mario and I was like, "Hey, I'm ready to do this, man." He's like, "Good, I'll give you 10 minutes." And again, like he's like, "You got 10 minutes?" And of course, I bluffed. I was like, "Of course I do." He just automatically was like, okay, cool, you're on. And I was just so nervous. I still remember I was nervous. And that was the first time I actually made 100 likes in my Facebook ever.
Damn,
That's because I put it that I was going to be there, and everybody was like, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, okay, now I have to be good. You know, like it was my first performance.
100 people just gonna pull up on you.
Yeah. Dude, I wish it was 100. It came out to 80 people, but it was like a good 40 people there, my friends that were there, and I was like, thank God. And that was a good show. I was like, Mike Robles was the headliner, the guy who started Que Locos. He's a cool guy. And yeah, man, that first show went off with a bang, and it was great. And the after that, the bartenders like said, "Oh, we're gonna keep Steve on every month," you know. And I kept doing it every month. Mario at the time didn't know who I was. They just kept putting me on the show. And later on, I did a show with my buddy now, Ponchi Herrera. Shout out to Ponchi. And he would always like, you know, he was really cool. Like if you ever meet Ponchi, he's a really nice dude. And he was just like, man, you got to keep doing things more and more. And I was like, yeah, man. And I remember we wanted to do an open mic there at AJ's, and they didn't want it. They just said, no, we don't want it. Like, but then like they go, we'll get back to you. And I was like, okay, get back to me. I waited and nothing. And I remember Ponchi's like, you know, screw that, dude. He's like, find a place and, you know, and like, just do it. And I was like, and right when he said that, I was like, well, I remember I played band and I played in a band, so I knew a couple bars. I asked Classic Tavern, and the guy was already like, if you ever met the owner of Classic Tavern, he's a really cool guy. And he was just like, and he's real Spanish. He was like, oh, Simón, yeah, and ¿tú quieres? And I was like, yes, like I can't do the Spanish back, and so yeah, like it was just like that. I started the first open mic, and it was cool. Ponchi was a part of it, and I had, you know, like I made George do it at the time. I was like, just do it. I need people.
Just fucking go on, dude.
And that was it. From there, like it started history from there, man. Just doing more and more open mics, knowing, you know, what worked and what didn't work, and after that, I remember. Actually, it was funny. George is the first one that made the Laredo Funny thing, because he was just like, we would always say something funny. He's like, hashtag Laredo Funny, and I was like, oh yeah, and it's kind of stuck. And then that's when I just like, you know, decided. I was like, I had a few comics that kept coming to the open mics to sign up, you know. And then after that, we all became a group, you know. Like it wasn't established, but it was we became a group, and just to help out each other out. And you know, if we write jokes together, we always hang out together. Oh, always drink too, but
a lot of drinking, with the joke writing. But, dude, so like, how many years ago was it that like Laredo Funny became Laredo Funny?
That has to be like, well, we had our third anniversary, so I think 3 years, and I think. That first time, I think it was like a couple years back, and it's been a while now. Like, I mean, like when we first started, it was just me just trying to just do open mics and get people to do comedy. You know, it was just me and those guys. And the same thing when I remember when Roger showed up the first time, and like I was just like ecstatic that somebody would show up. You know, like because at the time, you know, comedy was so new here, and I was just happy to have people, you know, and come show up. The same thing when I met Aaron. He found me, and I remember like, you know, and I still remember to this day like that he did a show, and George was always like, oh man, he's like he's the one that helped Aaron get in there, because Aaron didn't want to do it at the time, and then Aaron did it, and he did great, and then from there on it just turned into a whole scene, you know. It started growing. It was a little spread, but it was there, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been gaining a lot more legs. Like,
oh yeah,
the mic drop one was fucking crazy, dude. Like, was
shout out to that. That was a great show,
for
man.
real, dude.
Yeah,
that was actually, I think, the first open mic that I've been to. Because the only other one that I've been to here was when y'all did Amnesia. I'm not sure if it was Young Guns or Keg
That was a
Stand.
that was a showcase.
Yeah, exactly.
Showcase,
Like, that's the only other comedy show that I've been to here.
Oh, okay.
And then so going to that one was pretty fun, and like going up on stage was fun as fuck too. I wanted to ask you, dude, like when you went up. And did you like have anything prepared at all, like, or were you just kind of like, whatever?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I was gonna be out of town anyways, and I was gonna try new material there, but I was like, you know, like I always say, like you see a good crowd, you want to give them something good, you know. And I was like, I did a lot of the material I wanted to work on for the showcase, and I was like, well, let's see how it goes. Also, that was the first time I actually did some crowd work there. I was like, I remember I was like just looking around, and then I was like, there was one guy that showed up, and he was all a big dude, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make fun of this guy because This guy just came out of working out. You could tell, and I was like, that's why I called him Colossus. Because he
that was
looked
the
like
homie that was
Colossus.
sitting behind me at work with that dude. It was fucking funny. It was fucking cracking up the whole time. Dude.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
funny as
man.
shit.
That was cool, man. And, yeah, man, like, I usually prepare. Like, I'm always, I usually have my material, but if I'm doing, like, a 5-minute spot like that, you know, I already know, like, I keep, like I think you said it before that you have little, I think it's like words that you know.
Yeah, actually,
right?
I was talking about this last night with Fred and Sarah because they were over at my friend's place, and we were talking about this after the open mic yesterday, and we were talking about basically how to like construct jokes and the general, I guess, the general consensus was that a lot of people what they do is they'll write like a little line and then they go and they rehearse it at a. They'll go and they'll rehearse it at a at an open mic or try it out, you know, like basically give it a little bit of attraction, and then once you've got enough mileage on it and it's like a tried and true thing, then you write it down if you want to. And it's funny because both of them gave like the suggestion about that, like you should try and write all of it out. That way you know what to swap in and out and stuff like that. I just don't work that way personally. But like last night when we showed up to the Laredo Funny open mic, which happens Mondays at Cold Brew now.
Bi-weekly Mondays, yes.
Bi-weekly? It's not every Monday?
No, it's bi-weekly. No.
Okay, cool. Bi-weekly Mondays at the new Cold Brew location, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah, great place.
It was it was really funny seeing that. I went up there and I tried some jokes like this, like really like just shit that I'd never tried before, and that's what the open mics are for. So, but I operate like that more or less the same way.
Just kind of going up and shooting new shit around.
Yeah.
Feeling it out.
Yeah.
Getting the reps in.
Yeah, that's how I do it. Like I know because you start learning, like you start getting a clock in your head of how much material you know is going to be 5 minutes, can be 10 minutes, can be 20. And like for me, 5, like I know like about 5 bits the most, you know, and I would be like, okay, this one, and then you just hope you remember them. That's the only thing, you know. That's the hardest part is getting to remember your material. And a lot of times like I said, like him, like knowing like a word or something. It's also knowing a story, you know, talking about yourself and talking about your, like, you know, like, okay, I'm going for my life, so I'm talking about my parents. Well, this joke goes there. You know, I'm talking about this. Well, that joke goes there. That's how I feel when I do that.
Kind of slot them in and more or less use a...
It looks natural, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to keep doing it or not, but I kind of want to just go back on... I definitely want to go back on the next one down on the 23rd just to kind of try some other shit that I have been thinking about for a long time.
There you go.
For fucking fun. And I'm like, nah, there's no way I can't fucking get a laugh. I have to get at least like a couple of fucking laughs. And I was like, come on, let's
Welcome to the world of comedy,
for fucking real, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a couple of times already, but I want to keep the focus on Laredo Funny. But like this open mic this last week on Thursday, the mic drop one, it was surprising me because I went with that exact same mentality of looking more to expand the scene and make it more inclusive to people and make it a fun experience all around for people. And I think everybody did a really good job, and I don't think there was a single like really bad bomb. And because I've seen a couple of those, but there was no real like really bad bomb that day. So it was all in all, it went off of a hitch, and I know a shit ton of people are excited for the next one. We've got some stuff planned for that too. So and you guys have the cold brew open mic and the Mad Hatters one. Do you still have the pepperoni and brisket one?
Yes, we will be at pepperoni and brisket next week. We usually do it that one bi-weekly on Mondays.
So you're gonna be doing it cold brew pepperoni brisket, cold brew and that's Mondays, and then Wednesdays every week, right?
Wednesdays is every week. This Wednesday, just keep on Laredo Funny to find out for anything that happens.
Yeah, we'll plug that stuff on there too. Yeah, man.
I like that.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, the pepperoni brisket, that's a new one we're doing, and I like that one just because, you know, it's BYOB, and you know.
Where the fuck is this? It's the new pizza spot downtown, right?
No, you're thinking Calderonis. We were talking about that the other day. No, pepperoni brisket is right next door to On the Rocks.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And
It's a really nice.
Why
place.
is it called pepperoni and brisket?
Because it's
Well,
pepperoni and
There
brisket.
you go.
Like, do they legit have pizza with brisket on it?
It's
or-
pizza.
Yeah, they even
They
have-
have some crazy shit. I've
Yeah,
seen
dude.
the stuff on the page.
I have like a pastor, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
What the
Pizza
fuck?
Yeah.
with
I'm
like
fucking
brisket.
down.
Oh yeah, trust me, it's amazing. You know.
It sounds fucking good. Goddamn. Pizza,
Yeah.
beer, and comedy, dude. What else?
But
do you
I
want?
mean, like, I don't know. I don't mean to like to interview you now, but like, how'd you feel about that open mic? Dude? Like,
Well, I mean, as a part of the audience or as like participant?
well, I
interview?
guess as both, like, you
Both?
know, like to be a part of it. And
Yeah, to being in the audience was fun. Like it was dope to see like different comics and I don't know, just see the reception of it. More than anything, it just made me feel like super proud that like the whole thing came together so fucking badass for Roger and Frank.
yeah, man.
And I was like, fuck yeah, this is amazing. Like, and it kind of just made me also think like of how it's becoming a lot more mainstream, right? And that's one of the things that I talked about when we did the podcast the day after, and that Cultura was able to, you know, really lend the spotlight that it has to comedy, whether it be like for the showcase that y'all did before, or for the mic drop as it's gonna be doing, right? It's just like, damn, once. I don't know, man. Cultura is fucking dope that they allow a lot of, you know, a pretty huge platform for a lot of different things,
Yeah.
whether it's like music, comedy, fucking
Art.
art galleries, anything, dude. And
Yoga.
Yoga.
They do
Yeah,
a bunch
that
of
too.
stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, man.
And
I love
that's
that
really
place.
that's really what kind of like caught my eye because the first place that I had started looking at was Frontera, and then I looked over at Cultura just to see if that's something that we would do. I think the main concern before used to be about keeping it family friendly, which we know a lot of the comedy is not. But since we were able to do it upstairs in that area, like we don't really have a concern for keeping it like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're there for the comedy, you're there. So. But yeah, man. How'd you feel as a comedian though, getting up there? And
I don't like to call it me being a comedian. I just tried some story.
oh,
that
trust
was
me, you know, sometimes I'll tell you this: the first time that I went up was actually, and you know, it's funny because I don't remember if it was the second chance one, the classic one, or the Mambo's one. I'm pretty sure it was the Mambo's one though. That there was because JR would do these like one shots.
I think he did. Like, I did it like twice, but I.
Wait, so Mambo's was run by JR, was it not?
Yeah, JR is the one.
So JR would throw these open mics, and they were super sporadic, and they wouldn't really happen all that often. And I had attended 2 of them before, and there was one time I showed up, and I've said this before, but one of the times that made me get up on the mic in the first place was because I felt like it was people were not.
not funny.
They weren't not that it wasn't funny. There wasn't that much pressure to do it, so that's kind of it was a little relaxed. So I had a couple of drinks. I actually went with Kiana there for the first time, and I get up on the mic and I tell like the first joke was about how Sarah's the only female comedian, but like
right.
4 or 5 of them have tits. So I told that one, and then it got a really good like reception. And I was like, cool. And then I started telling jokes, and I told the joke about Mami Chulas.
That's good. I like that.
And I haven't done that one in a long time, man.
Bring it back,
but,
dude. Hammer it out.
I might. We'll see.
That's
But
the beauty of comedy, man. Bring it back. Try it out, man.
I think that's what's really
Try it
cool
out.
too, and that you're able to kind of like switch things depending on you gain a little bit of experience, kind of level up in a way,
Yeah,
and then you
pretty
can
much.
just go and like, you know what, this is what I was doing wrong with this joke. Let me bring it back and swap it out a little bit. So that's really fun. Let's talk a little bit about the showcases, man. You guys have a showcase coming up this Friday, right? May 10th at
Cultura.
at Cultura Beer Garden. It's keg stand 15, 14? 15. And then you have headlining Ku
Agenti.
Ku
Yes,
Agenti.
Ku Agenti.
Who else is on that show? I
Yeah.
know Fred and Sarah are the locals on that show.
Yes, we have. Well, yeah. Besides Sarah Garza and of course Fred Madigad, we are also going to have Jacob Yarbrough. He's
right, San Antonio.
San Antonio guy.
You've seen him before.
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
it.
Jake's cool, and we're also going to have Mike Rao, who's a good friend of Ku Agenti's, and he's been to a couple times. He's headlined Amnesia back in the day, before. And Ku Agenti, same thing, man. And
Yeah, I saw Ku at Amnesia. I actually saw him when he hit the open mic at Alamo.
Oh, that's right. You were
When
there
I
for that?
was
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I was there for
that was a fun night,
That was
man.
funny. Yeah.
Like Draft House Animal?
Alamo Draft House used to have an open mic.
They still do.
But for the last like 2-3 weeks, it's been canceled
Because of Endgame. but
Yeah, I imagine that. But Alamo Draft House would have an open mic.
Yeah, I remember we've talked about it.
It was either run. It was run by Mike Reese first, and then I think Esteban has since taken up the mantle. But that was for me personally the weirdest fucking thing. I absolutely could not. And you're supposed to have a little bit of versatility as a comedian and this and that, but it's just so weird. Like basically forcing people who are waiting for a movie to listen to comedy. Like that's what it felt like sometimes.
Yeah.
There were some people that get super into it. It's just to me it was like such an awkward way
hit or miss, right?
to like. Yeah, it would be hit or miss. Yeah, admittedly yes, but. There were sometimes that it was a shit ton of fun. Sometimes that it was just like, I'm coming for the popcorn, and but other times, a lot of the times, I think as of late, and I'll kind of like, I don't want to take up like the time of like talking about it like that, but I think a lot of the recent gatherings of comedians at open mics have basically been that. They've been comedians going and hanging out and then telling jokes to each other. At open mics, so I think the mic drop was kind of like a little bit of a whoa, like okay, now we have an open mic that's got a crowd and like a huge audience to kind of get up there and pretend like it's a showcase. Yeah. I think that was kind of what threw it in for a little loop, and that's why it felt so different. Yeah. But yeah, like I think in most of the time, if I head over to an open mic, it's either to try new stuff or just to hang out, and like talk to the comedians. So
I mean,
there's a lot of sense of like camaraderie, I think, if anything, as of late. So and I already dig that. So but yeah, tell us a little bit about the headliners that you've got coming in this weekend.
Oh yeah, well we got Cool Genti, man. He's so they call him he's your favorite African.
Yeah, I saw that.
and he's got a lot of stuff on Spotify, and he's been a great. I've seen him a couple times, and then like gotten to work with him, and he's a great comic, man. And bringing him down is I'm just glad that we had to like I said, just to keep bringing something different and go through I like you said, man. Like you get a nice crowd. And and that's the thing. I'm sorry to like not go back to that, but I was like, I like what you said like about the open mics, and like you never know what you're gonna get, and that's why I think I liked the Alamo Draft House because of the it's just the whole thing of like, all right, those people are here, and then they leave, and then a whole new people come in. And you're like, this is what I'm talking about. To me, like that's
yeah. That's why you guys would do it in blocks. I didn't understand that at first, but they basically would have 2 windows for signups. Mm-hmm. So it'd be you sign up for one, you perform that first block, whatever, then you can sign up for the second round, basically. And it'd be like people that are coming in and out of their show times and stuff. And so you sit there, and of course, Alamo Draft House is a great section of beer and shit like that. So,
dude, yes.
So to get in there and to get in there and do that and just hang out and check out the comedians, you check that out.
Yeah. And that's what I like about like open mics and stuff. Because I mean, a lot of times when you're a comedian, it's about the sets. It's about getting a set in, the set in. And that's the thing about Alamo is like you can get 3 sets in if you can, like if you get there early enough. And a lot of times comics are not early at all.
Yeah.
So
10 sets, 3 reps, dude. I mean, 3 reps, 10 sets, dude.
Yeah. I know. I didn't even notice the exercising reference.
Yeah.
Get your sets in, and like a bunch of guys at gyms are like, "Yeah, he's right about that."
Get your sets in, bro.
Yeah, dude. It was always for me. I mean, like I remember like reading, and this is actually so we have like a comedians chat, right? And there's on that chat, someone I think it was George. George once shared something about how. Comedy gets started at open mics. That's how comedians get started. Like you get in there, you either eat shit on stage or you do really well. But either way, both of them are learning experiences.
Yeah.
And I mean, going to the cold brew mics, I think if anything was what helped me. When this was back when I was at the old location, helped me kind of start building on that. And I know it wasn't very much like a. I think you guys have a very like hands off, like, hey, you get up there, do your thing, and then that's that, and then afterwards we talk. And it was funny because it's like I would so desperately go up to people like wanting to ask, and it's funny because he just commented, but I would go and ask people like Fred, like, hey man, so what do you think? I don't know. That was all right, I guess. It's just like that. I was like, nah, dude, come on, like I want some feedback. And he goes, all right, everything that you did from when you started and then when you stopped. Don't ever do any of that again. I was like, okay, man. Well, thanks, dude. Appreciate it. But it was always little like jokes like that and shit. So, but yeah, man, it was always good times, dude. And I already dig that, and I'm excited to see how this next cold brew one's gonna perform too. So
and like I said, man, like I just love and I love comedy so much, man. Like I'm at every show. I go to every open mic. I love it. There's nothing more for me than just like, getting to see comedy stuff. And then even bombing, like dude, bombing's inevitable. Like you're gonna bomb. Like I go and then like saying like you want to go the next time to like but even if you go somewhere and there is a crowd. You still will bomb. It happens. I don't know. Like
I want it, dude. I just want a bomb.
Oh, if you keep.
you'll get a bomb.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're gonna get a bomb, and then that's whether it's just more about how you take it. I think, if anything, because like I know there's a couple of times that some comedians will show up to the open mics at Laredo Funny at Culver. I mean, and they'll get a bomb and just stop showing up
Forever. Soul crushing.
And that's just like not the right attitude. But in also the same way, I think they kind of weed themselves out.
Exactly. Yeah, I was about to say.
Because if you can't handle a bomb at an open mic, you're never gonna handle a bomb at a showcase, which does happen sometimes. So
I still remember being sad after a bomb at an open mic and just like.
Damn.
Well, I mean, it's because like if you take it seriously enough, it's gonna feel that way each time.
Exactly.
It's gonna feel the same whether you bomb at an open mic and then you get off stage. You're like, whatever, dude. I don't give a shit. Then then that's the wrong attitude too. I think if you bomb at an open mic, you get off. You bombed. People are telling you good job, and I said you're fucking lying. Like it wasn't a good job. I think you kind of develop a little bit of a character and a little bit of a
bullshit detector.
Not just the bullshit, but a little bit of character and a little bit of a shield. To kind of get an idea of how you're gonna change up your whatever it might have been that went wrong, whether it was your delivery, whether it was the jokes themselves, how you wrote them, or maybe just the way you interact with the crowd. Sometimes, and I was talking about this with Fred and Sarah yesterday. Sometimes you get on stage. And people know immediately if they like you or not. And you just have to learn how to read that, how to win them back, or how to, vibe off of them already liking you. So
likability is a big thing, man.
Yeah.
Like, especially like I tell people, I go like, because me, I'm always very smiley and stuff like that. And a lot of times people react to that. Like if you walk out and you're pouting, and if people see that when you're on there, like, okay, well, what's this guy's problem? And it depends on how you do it. Like you can go up being angry or go up being depressed or going up being anyway. But as long as you already know, if your material's solid, it's really not a problem,
That's actually, what? That's another. I think that's a topic, a conversation. We've had other comedians on here before. I think we have Josh Castro just said Steve should be used to bombing by now. We
Shout
have
out Josh Castro.
We've had other comedians on before. Francisco, Fred have been on here, and Aaron as well. But one of the things that we don't really talk about is like your attitude, like getting up on stage and how it affects the way you deliver. I am very prone to being like, down, pissed off, sad, that kind of stuff,
or showing emotion.
Yeah, I'm very prone to that. So I think getting on stage, there is an actual cricket in the back. Actually, it's fucking hilarious. There's a cricket in the back, and trust me, that's not for Steve.
It's not for my bombing.
We just have some geckos that our boy Josh here grows. I don't know what they're pets. He's growing some geckos.
I doubt they're gonna grow any larger. Right. They're pretty big.
Yeah. So it was feeding time, so there are some crickets here. But what was I saying? Yeah. So I've gotten on stage a couple of times knowing that I'm just like, I don't feel like telling jokes today, but you still have to get up there and kind of power through it.
Vent.
And the fucked up thing is that I've not fucked up, but the good thing is that I don't feel I've ever gotten on stage to vent except once, and that's because I got very drunk and I got on stage and I started talking about my ex-girlfriend. It was great. But yeah. So talk to me a little bit about the. I guess the kind of personality that you carry, man, when you get up there. Because there's a lot about you that I think, one, you're cheery. Two, you're very happy-go-lucky. I feel you're not ashamed of anything, and I feel like when you get up there, a lot of the stuff that you say is true, I imagine, because you do talk a lot about stuff that's very like true to your person, and you wear fucking pajamas, dude. You're wearing pajamas right now.
Yeah,
Actually,
y'all can't see me.
and you get on
some pajama
stage.
pants.
You get on stage like that, right?
I've done it a couple of times. I remember the first few times I would perform, like my first ever, the one I told you at AJ's, that was in pajamas. I still remember my first joke was when I said, when I get a boner in my pajamas, that like, and I would stretch my pajamas out to like show like that's how big it would get, and then I would look at like people in the audience like, that's right, ladies, that's the exact size. And like, ladies, table 1, can you see that? And they're like, and yeah, at the time that was my first one. I was like, table 2, can you see that? And I was like, that's right, ladies, that's what it looks like. And then but that was me doing it, and I wanted to keep doing it in pajamas. I remember that was my whole deal was like, if I can get famous in pajamas, I always have to work in pajamas. It's brilliant. Like, like but then I remember like even Ponchi and everybody's like, fuck you wearing pajamas, man. Like, why are you wearing, and then that was the first time I ever heard, don't disrespect the stage. And I was like, what? Like,
the stage?
I didn't know it was disrespecting anything. Like, and then I remember it was Kool-Aid, man. One time I saw Kool-Aid, Alex Ansel, and he was at the Laredo Little Theater, and him and Ponchi were there. And I remember he was like, this guy's always wearing pajamas. And he goes, you can just joke around about pajamas. You don't have to be in pajamas. And I was like, and that's when it got me to be like, you know what? Like, I don't need this to be like something that's always
the
gimmick.
The real pajamas are on the inside.
Yeah.
I'm always in pajamas.
That's right. They're in your heart. And remember that.
It's not the pajamas on the outside that matter. It's the pajamas on the inside.
Exactly.
Right. That's great, man. So talk to me a little bit more about like what's going on with you, man. So you've got you have any like other shows coming up or?
Oh yeah. Well, right now, like I just came from doing a whole. That was my first ever like doing a bunch of shows in a week. I was like, Wednesday I was at Cine with George. That was a great show. We who's the headliner that day? Oh, it's Ponchi. That's right.
Yeah.
Ponchi was the whole week we were with him, and we were there Friday at Carrizo Springs at the 5D Steakhouse. That place was amazing, and they were really cool people, man. I'll consider Carrizo Springs an amazing place to do comedy. Those people are very nice. They just want entertainment. You know what I mean? Like that was the cool
The
thing.
best thing about them is
been
you
to
can get the city's population in one of the restaurants.
Yeah, that's good. And I can imagine they're looking for a lot of entertainment too. So.
Yeah. Like they were so cool. Like the people hung out with us, and they were just. It's just fun to have people be like, dude, thanks for hanging out with us. I was like, well, thank you for hanging out with us. Like, you didn't have to come hang out with us. Like,
thanks for coming out, my gay.
And then we Saturday we went to San Antonio. That's when we did the Bar America. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, I swear to God, when we came back home, I think the next day on Sunday, I was like, I don't know how bands and everyone can do this for like, we're on tour for 6 weeks. And I was like, dude, I don't even.
Yeah, dude. No, even mine weren't as sporadic, but I did a good little stretch of shows. And there was 1 week where it was, I did Paravicios. Then the next day I had to be in Plano. And then the next day after that, I got down here to Laredo, and the day after I did Cine. So there was a string of shows where I had to travel like crazy, because the drive from here to Plano is like 6.5 hours.
Yes, sir.
And then Cine is just like 2.5 hours, but still, I mean, I drove that by myself. Mm-hmm. So to like go and do just that little string of shows, it's fucking exhausting, dude. Dude, this last one that I did when I not San Antonio, but the one before that in Amarillo, a 9.5 hour drive, dude. 9.5 hour drive. We took off the.
I know, right?
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. You think you can drive 9.5 hours and still be in Texas? It's fucking nuts. We drove. Aaron and I. We drove from Laredo to Amarillo, and we took off a day before. So it's a 9.5 hour drive. What we could have done was take off the day of the show at like 2 a.m. or some shit, and get over there and then have some time to chill, whatever, right? But it's very lucky, very fortunate that we didn't do that, because the day we took off the day before, and the fucking car broke down on the way to Amarillo. Right. So we broke down in Snyder, Texas, and we were in the middle of fucking nowhere and didn't get any rest, because then we had to worry about juggling the rest of this stuff. Woke up the next day at like 7 a.m, drove the remainder of 3.5 hours out because Aaron's parents fucking bailed us out. And then we got to Amarillo, but it was a killer show, and that venue treated us so well, dude. I was
pictures, yeah.
I was hosting that one, and like it was so fucking cool showing up. And then like they had a banner with my face on it, like for hosting, and I was already kind of like, shit, dude, I'm never gonna see this kind of fucking treatment again. I'm gonna take a picture of this and make sure I remember it forever.
Yep.
Did you get to keep the banner?
Aaron kept the banner because he had a much bigger picture of his face on it. So, and that I understood.
So he needed that.
Yeah, and Aaron, of course. And it's understandable too, man, because it was really fucking cool. We rolled by there. We did the first initial drive to there and saw it. Yeah, man. So getting all of these things and seeing the the differences in like doing that. Going to like different cities and doing that, and it's fucking exhausting, man. Like, I couldn't as much fun as that show was. I was still super exhausted by the end, and all I could think about was like, shit, I can't wait to get home and see my girlfriend and hang out with my dog and like just sleep in my bed, dude. Because it was just like 3 days of like being in a.
You miss your bed after a while.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
man,
dude.
dude,
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah, that was fun, man. And I'm actually gonna be in San Angelo next Saturday. I'm gonna be there at the Tilted Mug.
San Angelo.
Yeah, thank you, Michael
Mug.
Shields, for giving me the opportunity.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. I just man, I'm just happy now because I mean before it was when I first started, like I was always I always wanted to be booked in places, but a lot of times I always you feel that you want to be ready, and I consider myself now that I'm ready to be actually going to these places and either featuring or doing something or guest spot or hosting.
What made you feel that it was like? When did you know that you were ready? Because for me, it was literally like I got pushed into it, if anything, and then not only that, but I felt like I shadowed a lot of the time. So I would go, and even if somebody was just making a drive to another city, it was as simple as going with them and sitting down and like being in the audience. That I felt like, okay, this is what they do. And it doesn't seem that big of a deal, and I felt like I was ready following that. What made you feel like you were ready?
I guess really it was mostly because not being scared, and a lot of times like it's you can be people are scared, and it's just like you don't know if you're gonna suck, you don't know if you're gonna great, you don't know if anything and a lot of times I'm always like that, like I don't know if this is gonna work, I don't know if these jokes are gonna work, and then when it's finally done, you're like, oh God, it was great, but. I guess when I was ready, it took me a couple of years, man. Like I needed to keep doing open mics. I needed to keep running these and hosting, and a lot of times it's just always getting a rep in, always getting something in that gets you ready for something. Because I mean, trust me, dude, bombing so many times, then you just go one day and you're like, I know these jokes like the back of my hand. Like let's go do this, and and when you have that one day where it's just boom, 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 like. That's when okay, now I'm ready to start. And that's the thing. Like, I didn't want to get booked and then go there and then they're like, this guy was horrible. Why did I even book him? I want to be able to be like, they booked me for a reason. And also like getting other comics to say like, yeah, book that guy. He's great. And that takes a lot of years to develop that. Like developing like trust in other comics that like you. To like develop, people that actually like, because that's another thing about comedy is besides getting to know other comics and besides getting like booked, you have to be a good hang. You have to be someone that the comics want to hang out with you. Because if you're hanging out with comics, a lot of times I've hung out with comics and you're like, okay, this guy sucks. Like I don't like him. His personality's horrible. Why would I book him? But if they're funny, well, fine. But I'm not gonna hang out with you,
Yeah, fucking just be like, come here and do your shit, peace.
Yeah, and then you could be like, oh, okay, well, whatever. But if you have a good attitude and you have a good, like I said, like if you're a good hang with comics, they're gonna be like, oh, he's a great comic and he's also cool. Like bring him along, or let's book him. And that's how I feel that I felt like I've been ready now because I've been working a lot. I work hard on it. I'm just real happy that that I feel like I'm getting better. I know I'm not the best, I know I'm not ready to make a Netflix special, but I feel like I'm ready to start getting out there and showing who I am,
Have you had any shows like outside of Texas?
Outside of Texas, actually, I did 2 shows in New York. One of them I did an open mic, but it was an open mic I did, but it was like it wasn't that great. Like this is before I knew anything. Like I remember they made me pay to get in there and like to do the open mic, and they're like, oh, it's a big crowd, man. You know, like a lot of big headliners from all, and they were just blowing smoke up my ass. And at the time, I was just like, okay, I'll pay the money, I'll go. And then he's like, you'll be on after this guy. And I get in there, and it's a few people in there, maybe like 8 to 10, 15 the most. And it was called, I forgot the name of the place, but it was a small place. It looked like, and it's weird because in New York, you're like underground. There are always those little underground.
Yeah, the cellars.
Cellar things. So this one was like that. And I remember like, I was nervous, and I was like, but then I started noticing like they put me there, and all the comics were in the back, like in the kitchen area. And I was like, and I started noticing like every comic coming up, and I started noticing the crowd slowly just leaving and like different. And I was like, I'm not gonna be able to go up. Like I'm not gonna be able to have people. Like I'm not gonna have a crowd. And when I went up, I only had 2 people in the audience.
Damn.
Yeah. And the guy was like, "What, hey man, good job, man. Keep in touch." And I was like, "Whatever." You know, like my dad was even upset too. He was like, "Man, we had to pay and everything." And I was like, "But that's when you learn. That's something you learn from that experience." You know, like, and then like the second one I did one in Long Island because I met one of the guys that was there at that show. He was, and you can tell like that guy was hustling. He was already going somewhere else. And that's the thing about New York. There's always a show going on. And so he was like, "Let me know, man." And I went back. I did a show in Long Island with him and this other guy. And that was a cool show too. But I was at a pizza place, and that place was pretty cool. It was a guy's birthday.
These are shows or open mics?
The first one was a show, but it was like I jumped in on it.
pop-in spot.
Yeah. Well, at the time, I didn't know what pop-in spot was.
Right.
But I had to pay for the pop-in spot.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it wasn't like I showed up and they were like,
Pay
"Yeah,
for
let's
pop."
get it." Yeah,
Right.
pretty much. Yeah.
Pay for pop.
And but that's the thing is that's what I learned from the experience of that. That if I ever go back there and like some guy's like, "Oh, you could pay to get in here," I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll pay to get in, but I'm gonna go right now with the crowd." You know, like I was like, I'm not going on last. I'm not going on the middle. I'm going on right now. And like that's the thing that I know now as a comedian that's like coming up in this whole thing. I'm like, you learn from your mistakes, you know. And I was real happy like now that's how I feel now. Like I can't wait to go back, you know, like to try it out. I'll go to an open mic in New York, like.
I was just talking about this last night with Fred and Sarah again too, because we talked about a bunch of shit last night. But one of them was that I had been traveling a bunch for work at some point, and I was in places like Chicago, Jersey, New York, like a bunch of Cleveland, dude, a bunch of these places that were fucking popping for comedy, and I didn't go to anything there because I wasn't into performing, right? I was into checking out comedy, and I did go to a couple of shows, but I didn't really go to like an open mic or anything like that, and I fucking should have, and I really regret like not doing that. So, but yeah, man. So you're kind of you feel like you're growing as you progress all these different things, and I think that's always pretty important, like just for the general sake of growth. And I think what I kind of wanted to let's talk about what's your favorite comedian.
Oh, my favorite comedian.
Yeah, because you have to have some place that you draw some sort of inspiration from, I imagine.
I had so many, man. Like when I was growing up, of course, George Carlin was the first one that I've ever seen. Yeah, like that. It was like I was like, that guy's amazing, and he's so clever. But the one that was like my favorite was is Robert Schimmel. Robert Schimmel was he was a great comic, and that guy, man, he like God, like I swear to God, like. God throws so much stuff at him. Like he had cancer, like, you know, like, but everything that was bad in his life, he turned into funny, and he was just amazing, man. Like he was, and I'm not gonna lie, he was the first comic that I was like, I liked it because he was dirty, but he was smart dirty, you know, like, and he would always have different things, and then there's times he wasn't. Like I remember one of my favorite jokes. He talks about his son, and his son likes vampires, and he's like, so I showed him Dusk Till Dawn. And he's like, yeah, it's got. Like he likes vampires, and it's got Selma Hayek, so I thought it was a win-win, you know. And he starts talking. He's like, and he watches the movie, and he's like, his mom's not gonna let him watch it, so this is the opportunity that I get to show that I love him more than she does, you know. And I love I swear to, that's why I love him so much. I know the bit, like, and the favorite thing is that the kid remembers the whole thing from the titty twister that Cheech does. Yeah, like we got red pussy, we got white pussy, we got smelly pussy, you know. And the kids do it in the car, and then Robert Schimmel just talks about it like he's like, yeah, stinky pussy. I think that's when I like lost control of the car. Like, and then he's like, hey, he turns around, he tells his son, hey, X-nay on the inky pookie snay, you know, like, and the son goes home, he gets the phone call, and it's a wife, and the wife goes, hey, stinky pussy. And he's like, sorry, she doesn't live here anymore. Click.
It's fucking funny. God
But that's
damn,
Robert
dude.
Schimmel, man. He was always like that, man. And like, to me, like that was the type of comedian that I liked because if you listen to some of his bark stuff, like, or you could tell that he's like in a bar crowd, and he would hear people and he would do the way he was just so quick. I loved his he was talking about the movie with I think it was Denise Richards or something. He's like, $1 million to sleep with your wife. And he's like, $1 million? He's like, man, I'll suck your dick for 20,000. Like he's like, you don't want her, you want me, man. And then, but that was the thing I liked that I was like, man, like it's just funny to have those jokes to be smart, even if you're dirty, Of course, I was too dirty in the beginning, but that was one of my favorites. And then of course now going up more Jerry Seinfeld.
What about like currents on the still on the
right now?
on the circuit who?
Of course I got to go Bert Kreischer.
Oh yeah,
Machine.
Kreischer's good. I could never
Brent
get
Crystals, dude.
I couldn't get him. I couldn't get too much into his stuff, man. I don't know what
Did
it
you watch
is.
Secret Time?
Yeah,
I need
That's great of
I
him.
need to rewatch. It's because the thing is, man, that I feel like a lot of the times what happens with my taste in comedy is that it kind of it shifts sometimes. I used to be really into the low key stuff for a good while. My favorite was Dimitri Martin.
I fucking
Love
knew you were gonna
Dimitri.
say that.
And
He was pretty dope though.
yeah, Dimitri Martin was like that for a bit. And then it kind of went into a little bit of Marin, then Hannibal Buress, and currently right now, who I think is fucking hilarious, just got his first Netflix special out. Nate Bargatze.
Yeah.
Did you check that shit out? The Tennessee kid.
I saw the first half. It's pretty. He's always been funny though.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I saw his stuff on stand-ups, like that Netflix.
That's right, the
series of stand-ups, and he talks about how that was kind of like his big break, and then he goes into the Tennessee kid, and it was just so good, man. You need to watch that shit. He tells this whole
He's
bit
great.
about horses. It's fucking ridiculous.
I was really like my favorite those are my Bert Kreischer's always been my favorite, but the one that stick to me right now is Bill Burr.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's the one that
classic.
I have him on my Pandora radio every time, and him just same thing him. You can just tell that that guy is it's just his personality. It's just the way he is. And
Dude, his fucking podcast. You just listen to him for an hour, just talk shit.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah,
fucking
same
good
thing
too.
with,
You're
same
like,
thing
what
with
the
Marin
fuck?
sometimes too. Yeah. Those are two of my favorite podcasts for sure.
I love Tom Segura.
Yeah.
Same.
Tommy
Your
Buns.
mom's house.
And of course Hannibal Buress. You gotta love Hannibal.
Handsome Rambler.
And what's the other ones? I mean, I love them all, man. I go through it of course the late great Greg Giraldo.
Right.
That guy was one, and that's the thing I liked about Greg Giraldo was he was a comedian's comedian, and that's to me, I feel like that's a high praise to get as a comic because to have comics that want to come see you, and they're like, oh, Greg's on, dude, we got to go check Greg out. That's to me. I would love to die knowing that I was that. You know what I mean?
Someone
Yeah,
classified
dude,
you as
fuck,
that?
man. I wish Mitch Hedberg would have stuck around, man. Mitch Hedberg was probably one of my favorites. Hey, you know what? Hedberg was the first one that I started listening to. I bought 2 albums of his. It was
nice.
what was it? Mitch Altogether, and I forget the fucking name of the other one, but it's the one with the cookout one.
Oh yeah.
Shit, I forget the name of it. But I bought both of those, and I had one of those knockoff Walmart MP3 players, and I ripped the shit to my computer and then downloaded it to the MP3 player, and I would listen to that. And my favorite bit, or there was one time I remember it stuck in my head because of how memorable it was, but it was during testing one day in high school.
Back in the days.
Back in the day, it was during testing, and I during that testing, I was listening to it for the first time, and one of Mitch's jokes goes, "I had a parrot. It talked, but it did not say I'm hungry, so it died." And dude, when I heard that shit, I started cracking the fuck up, dude, just because of how to the point and how genius it was too. And I just started laughing, and I got in trouble, and I got my fucking MP3 players confiscated. So.
Yeah, dude.
But that was probably the first instance of me listening to an actual comedy album.
I remember you told me that what's your favorite comic? It's weird when you start naming one and then you're somebody else says one, you're like, oh, why didn't I think of that guy?
Yeah.
And that's the thing about that. You just keep thinking it more and more like Dave Chappelle. I
yeah,
Dave
for sure.
Attell. You know, like I start thinking, and then even like what's the guy, the roast master, Jeffrey Ross. Like
I saw Ross once in Austin. It was fucking dope.
he's a shit.
It was with him, Dave Chappelle. Who else is on that ticket? Dimitri Martin, Hannibal Buress, Kristen Shaw.
Oh, it's amazing.
There's a shit ton of people on that one. It was
Ari
nuts.
Schaefer.
Fucking what was her name? What was her name? Flight of the Conchords. The dudes who did that. It was a double. It was a co-headlining with Dave Chappelle.
That's so cool.
It was nuts.
Yeah, man. That's the beauty of like, but like comedy is like there's so many like types of comedy like that you can like, man. And
What was like the first special that you saw? That
shit,
just
that's
fucking
what
triggered you like, oh shit, I want this shit.
First one I ever saw, I think it would have to have been George Carlin. You Are All Deceased. I remember that was the one that I was on HBO, and I remember like that was the ones. It was him. It was because I remember me and my dad. My dad would always be the one like watching those, and I would always just watch them with my dad. And it was him. I remember Jerry Seinfeld, and then there was this other guy. I don't know his name. And then see the crickets already know what's up, dude.
I know, right?
No, yeah, it's tough to think about, man. Like, John Leguizamo was another one. Freak.
He's
I
a
remember
fucking genius, dude.
Yeah, first when I first saw that one. That was the one where I was like, for performance-wise.
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing that I feel like if I ever had the chance, and this is actually might be a direction that we might go in with the mic drop at some point, but I want to have something that's like themed to do like some performance comedy. Multiple people on stage or props or whatever it might fucking be.
And improv.
Yeah, something like that. But it's just like, man, like there's so many different types of comedies and things that you can do on there that I think is it's important to take into account, because I feel like a lot of people don't give a lot of these like prop comics and performance comics a lot of ground. But sometimes like dude, Leguizamo's Freak, but what was the most recent one that he did? The
one about the Hispanic culture?
Yeah, Latino history for morons.
Yeah.
That was so fucking good, man.
I still have yet to see it.
You need to check it out, man.
It's always there, and I'm
it's
like,
a fucking.
Yeah, I know. I'm in the same boat. I see a lot of those, and I'm like, I already seen it.
There's some points in it that I feel like they dragged on a little bit for too long, but it's still like genius, dude. Like 100%.
I think the first comedy special that I saw was fucking Eddie Murphy Raw. With the fucking purple suit.
Yeah, dude.
Delirious was the first one I saw from him.
Yeah, I saw Raw, then I saw Delirious, and I was like, damn, and I just went down this fucking rabbit hole with like fucking black
What's funny is like both of you guys are talking about like comics like that. I like the classics, man. You know, the first one that I think I ever watched was with George Lopez, dude. And it was
shit,
the one about I have a pain in my chest.
Yeah.
And I can't breathe. Like that.
Yeah, George Lopez was the shit.
That was the one that kept me that I started like listening to, man. And it just like it I think that's what turned me on to like start checking out different like specials.
I remember when I saw George Lopez here, and it was when Joe Coy opened up. And,
right.
And nobody knew who he was back
Joe
then.
Coy was on
He
the
was
come up.
funny as fuck.
He was up and coming, and like, now he's blowing up hard, and it's
Yeah.
just like it was just weird that he was like the first time to see him there, and I was like, who-
Joseph.
and it was
Well,
him,
when I went to go check out
him and Brad Williams too. Brad Williams was Brad Williams was on that show.
When I went to go check out the Dave Chappelle and Flight of the Conchords show, when Hannibal Buress was on that ticket, he was not that well known of a name yet, and he only had, I think, his first album out, I think, but he wasn't like a household name in comedy at all.
No, yeah.
And I
Wait,
still
who?
Hannibal Buress.
Oh, Hannibal Buress, okay.
Yeah, and I think now, especially post Bill Cosby, he's definitely
What's all that
fucking
about?
ripped
He
that
actually-
shit
Did
up.
he actually have
dude. Bill he
like spilled the beans,
He spilled
didn't
the
he?
beans, man.
Yeah.
He was the one that kind of brought it to light and was like, "How many? This dude raped like a lot of chicks. Like, why is it that like he's not?" Out here?
jail.
Yeah, he talked about it, and it became a
And
it became a
he went in
bit,
jail.
and it started circulating a lot more, and that kind of led towards it cascaded, man. It turned into a whole thing, and so Hannibal Buress was credited with the downfall of Bill Cosby, man.
That's a Wikipedia credit, dude.
Yeah,
It's
for
there.
sure, dude.
I remember he was on. I think it was on the Justin Bieber roast And
Right.
then that was a thing like that they made fun of him about. They were like, he's really known for bringing down Bill Cosby, and only bringing down Bill Cosby. And I was like, I didn't even think that was so true. And then like, the new Dave Chappelle one, he talks about it too. And that's why I love that thing. He's like, if that's like if chocolate ice cream raped 54 women. He's like, I love chocolate ice cream. I don't want it to rape.
But it raped 54 women. Dude,
That's so
fucking, god damn it, man. Like, I remember after seeing that Eddie Murphy one, I just went down that rabbit hole and, like, the original Kings of Comedy with fucking, like, Cedric the Entertainer.
Yeah.
God
Steve
damn
Harvey.
it. Steve Harvey, fucking D.L. Hughley. And Bernie fucking Mac, dude.
Bernie
God
Mac.
damn.
That's a classic one.
Dude, for real, dude.
His first 5 minutes at the Def Comedy Jam, you like
I'm
that was just,
scared
and
of
that was
you,
just
motherfucker.
and that was just 5 minutes, dude. I couldn't believe that. That's when you want when you're a comic and you see someone do 5 minutes, but it's like the most best 5 minutes you've ever seen. You're like, wow, dude, like that's insane, dude. To me, like when I was first starting, that's insane to me. Like, and then seeing more and more progression, like you're like, and that's the thing when you're in comedy is that like first getting your first 5, and then your first 10, and then your first 15, 20, 25. And it's the toughest thing because you can say you have that much amount of time,
but it's not, like, legit.
yeah, it's not
just
like woo, like you know,
Yeah.
like because you'll have times like here's my 15, and then you do your 15 somewhere else, and it just didn't work there, and you're like, oh my god, what did I do wrong? Like,
Yeah.
It be like that sometimes, man.
How much time or how much material do you have now? Like, have you been scrapped shit?
Did
and
you do like
restarted,
45 last time? When you headlined?
When I headline, yeah.
Would you say you'd have about 45 to an hour now?
I say I probably have. I would say I have a solid 45 if I had. No, and that's the thing. Like I know I have 45, but I don't know if it's solid. I'd probably say I have a good 35 solid, but like I guess it depends on the night.
Yes, sometimes it's like I hear like the same thing, like I've got 20, but like a solid, like maybe like 15.
Yeah.
like a loose 20.
I've had that.
tight
A
15.
loose.
That was one of my friends. He would tell me that too. Like, Ponchi was like that. He's like, how much material do you have? And he's like, I was like, oh, he's like, what? He's
Man,
like,
I was so bummed about about this last Saturday. Like I felt like I wanted to really show Ponchi, like, dude, like I can fucking hang with these dudes, right?
hang, dude.
But like it was a fucking super difficult bar crowd. I felt, and then what was cool though is that Ponchi came up afterwards, and he was like, hey, don't even worry about it, man. I've seen your stuff. I know how you work. Like, this isn't the crowd. It wasn't the crowd for me either. So, like, and I was like, shit, dude. All right, cool. Well, that makes me feel better. So, he's a cool dude, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in, but
And that's the thing. Like you don't know, and the same thing for that. Like, you figure out like. Because I remember, like, I remember, like, that show, I didn't know I was going to host either,
Right.
And for me, I was like, oh, man, I wanted to perform, But when you find, like, later on, I was like, it was the right move. And that's the thing in comedy is that you have to, like, know people are doing it for a reason, Like, oh, they go. And then it's true. Like, I hosted. It was a good thing that I hosted. That's the thing about comedy is that you have to know, like, okay, you're not gonna be featuring, but you're gonna open. They're like, oh, they're not doing it because, oh no, he sucks, put him opening. No, they're like, he'll be better in the opener. And that's the thing that we do in Laredo Funny. It was a lot with lineup chemistry. And like, we know, okay, like, this guy's gonna go good with this guy, and then this guy's gonna go good with this one, and then headliner, And that's a thing we feel a lot of times when you're doing that, like, like, hey, like and that's a lot of times like you're doing shows, you have to know who's perfect for what, and you figure it out,
What's like your main objective as far as your personal comedy and with Laredo Funny? Like, what do you want to accomplish with like your own comedy?
My own comedy, I just want to I want to have I want to be like up there, like like a household name. Like everybody wants that, and I want to be able to kind of work, make this a career. Like I want to be able to be getting paid. It'd be nice to pay off an apartment all because of comedy. And with Laredo Funny, I just want to build a comedy scene, like which I've been doing. Like I'm not. I hate saying this, and it makes me seem like I'm egotistical or something, I guess. But I started this whole thing, and if it wasn't for me, a lot of this wouldn't have happened, And I don't like saying that because it just sounds so wrong to me. Like I feel like people are like, fucking, But it's kind of true. I did this all by myself in the beginning. I had nobody, and I remember George was the one that wrote with me, And then I got George to do it. And then once I made the open mic, it was like, oh, then Fred showed up, then Brian showed up, you know, and then Sarah showed up, and then after that, like, oh, then we started going more, and then it just started growing, and then Roger, and then Albert, and then, you know, I felt like, you know, like I mean, shit, if someone goes back in time and kills me before that, this wouldn't have happened, you know.
Not even followed the Avengers Endgame time travel, so
Yeah.
just different reality.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Just branch
I
off.
always loved that part.
No, you know, okay, cool. So you know
I'm
what?
sorry, I didn't mean to get all-
No. This is perfect because it kind of segued into something that I wanted to talk about, and this is going to get a little bit in on the whole politics of the scene, which I personally hate, and I've made this known plenty of times. Because that's the whole reason why. And if you guys who are tuning in who hasn't heard this before, but if you guys didn't know, we had an episode where it was basically a squash in the beef episode between LaredoFunny and Laugh Laredo, and it wasn't really that much of a squashing the beef episode. It was more trying to figure out why there was a division specifically between Fred Big Mac Madrigal, who's no longer with LaredoFunny, but is still an integral part of the comedy scene, and Aaron Suarez, who's he's not in Laugh Laredo, but Laugh Laredo is his like promotional entity. So we had this conversation, and a big part of it at the time, what I felt was an issue, and the reason why I felt like I had told Josh we have to have this episode. Was because I personally felt like there was a division, and it felt like there was a lot of like very unnecessary like fuck, dude.
Animosity.
Yeah, animosity.
Or static.
Yeah, static is a good word for it. And there have always been like these little things that have like chosen to pop up. We're not live anymore.
Oh, what? What happened?
Yeah, Sarah just told me that.
Dang, it was just getting good, man.
We'll go back live.
What happened?
I don't know. That was crazy.
What'd she say?
No, she's just like telling me that. It's like I was watching it and it just stopped.
Okay.
That was fucking weird.
What happened?
I'm not sure, but there it's back up. It should be back up. We are back. We're live. Are we live?
Let me check. Hey guys, for those of you all tuning in, if you guys are looking at now, sorry we had a little bit of a hiccup with the internet, I suppose, and it ended our live feed, but we're just about to pick up again. No, we're still not live, dude.
We're not, right?
Well, it's not showing up on mine. Is it showing up on yours? Shit, dude.
I don't know what's going on.
Is it the Wi-Fi, maybe?
I don't think so.
Is it restart the camera again? Remember that's what happened last time?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Shit. All right. So I'm gonna put a pin in this. We'll see if we can like cut this out for a second, because I really want to have this live, especially because there was a lot of people tuned in who were really interested in this conversation. So I'm so sorry, Steve. This is we're at the mercy of the technology sometimes. So we're about to get it started.
It's all a part of the experience, baby. Let's see, what the fuck was that about? Come on. Intermission music for the people that are in the audio.
La 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 la.
Ghostbusters.
So number one is to remember to be very good to you.
That was not.
I was like,
music.
some girl talking.
Intermission.
What did George and Sarah saying, man?
I was just asking about it because they're like, oh, what's going on? Like, oh, like, is it gonna come back on?
Yeah, we're about to get in on it.
Yeah, a lot of times I'm always like, I hate saying all that stuff, but it's like, I feel like it's
No. It was perfect. I think it was a perfect segue because I do want to talk about this because I think it's something that we need to address.
There you go. We should be live.
Should be live now.
Let's see. There you go. Continuation. And we're back. Sorry about that, guys. That was,
All right, guys. Very sorry for those of y'all that were tuned in, and we had that little bit of a hiccup. We're back up now, and we're just gonna take a little bit of time to share it to our respective pages because we had a couple of people tuned in.
Welcome back.
I
I guess
just
I can
shared it.
This is an exclusive Aliens on the Border only music from Rick Matamoros.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
This is the boy Rick.
That's the boy.
All right. Let me know when you're ready. When your people are good.
Have them on standby. Let's have them Skype in.
Okay.
Just plan. I don't know how to do that just yet, so we'll get there.
Okay. So the feed's back up. All right.
And
All right,
we're back.
Cut that. All right. Very sorry for the interruption, guys. Basically, we're at the mercy of the technology at times, and there was just a little bit of a hiccup. But so just to recap a little bit, Steve just said something that he feels he doesn't like saying all that often. He said he felt like he said he started this, and realistically he did. I mean, he did make a very valid point that if he hadn't done any of the work, there's no proof to say that anybody else would have done the legwork for it. Thus, kind of spurring on being the catalyst for the Laredo comedy scene, which I agree with, man, because it's true. If as far as like doing the legwork for the beginning of it, and then kind of providing a platform for all these other comedians to come in and start their own things. Case in point, Aaron.
That's true. Yeah.
What we did talk about. What I did say right before we had cut off, I mentioned that we had an episode before that was Fred Madrigal, Fred Big Mac Madrigal, who is not with Laredo Funny anymore, but has his own stuff going on in the comedy scene as well. Big Mac Productions, quick shout out to him. And Aaron of Laugh Laredo. It's Laugh Laredo is his promotional entity we've mentioned before. But we had this like discussion about why there happens to be animosity, and we think that it's always in any scene whatsoever, there's always going to be some form of animosity. I don't have any gripes per se, but I do want to kind of like take some time to address a couple of the things that I know it's always kind of been an elephant in the room, I think. But one of the main things was the politics behind being compensated for things like that, advertising something as like a show to other people, specifically bar owners and venues, and stating that you are bringing the talent by providing a platform for comedians. And I personally did side because I know there was a very big discussion about this, and personally one that I don't really feel about getting like too into, but it was a big talk about the exploitation of comedians. I'm going to give you your chance to like weigh in on it, and I'll tell you more or less what I felt. And of course, Josh, if you feel like jumping in at this at any point as well, by all means. I don't want to feel like I'm just kind of like hijacking it, but we've had this conversation as well. So I just want to know more or less, weigh in on it. Let me know what you feel as a comedian and as, the founder of Laredo Funny and, the I guess the purveyor of these open mics. What do you have to say about that?
Exploitation. That's funny. I mean, and it's funny because exploiting people is a very powerful word.
I'm using it as like a verbatim what was said.
Yeah.
I think it's more of like if you go and you say that, hey, we're going to bring an open mic here, which means that I'm going to bring comedians over and I'm going to get them to perform here. Give me some cash. Yeah. That kind of, to me, it's like you're allowing the talent to show, but realistically, if we're not aware of it as comedians, doesn't that kind of fall into that, circle of like...
No, yeah, I get you, man. But a lot of times I was, and I think I know what you're talking about. It's most of the time, and a lot of people interpret like I'm not really good with words. I say things, and a lot of times maybe I didn't mean it that way, probably. But when getting money, everyone says oh, you're getting money for this, and then you're bringing people. The one thing of getting money, I mean, and of course it's your own business when you're doing stuff like that. People think that you're using it on yourself, like I'm laughing my way to the bank. You know what I mean? Which is not the case. The case is basically I'm just trying to provide income for things that you need in the comedy world. Because a lot of times when we first started, we had to use our own money, you know? And a lot of times equipment, like you guys already know, equipment costs money.
Definitely.
You know, like a lot of, and then of course hiring talent, which is of course out of town talent.
Right, yeah.
You know, and that's the one thing that the cost would be for. A lot of times, if I ever make money from doing comedy, it's mostly because of that. It's not that just like, oh, I need to get a new hair dryer. You know, it's.
I understand as far as having a fund to you know get something for everything from promoting it to like you said, getting equipment and all that stuff. But when we're talking specifically about how and you're right, it's your business, and you don't have to be transparent with it at all because that's your personal business. But when something like this gets out, and you simply write it off as something like that and not really have an explanation for the comedians themselves, because this was all kind of brought to light in a group chat that we have.
Yeah.
I personally did not have anything for it, but I felt like the explanation that was given was very much like a I don't want to offend anybody, but it felt like a cop out. I felt like it was kind of like you know, like, yeah, this is the way that we're saying or whatever, but you guys didn't really hammer down the point of like, hey, yeah, you know what? We were offering it like that we were bundling it up together as like a, hey, we're bringing the talent over.
Yeah.
But that's really just like you're creating like the idea of an unpaid show for the comedians to go and like do their thing.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times I'm doing open mics. I mean, I'm inviting people to come to the shows. And I mean, if the talent, like I said, like you guys are all the talent, but I guess in a way, like it was more of just saying, like, you know, I want to bring everyone to come to the shows and sign up and show their talent, you know, and that's a lot of times because a lot of times you show your talent, and a lot of times you bring more to the table. Like people see you, and you might get something from that. You know what I mean?
So one of the things that was said though was about how this all gets eventually some way back to the comedians. What about the people that show up that are just there for the first time? Like, let's say Josh. What if I was getting paid for the Cultura mics for the mic drop, and Josh came to show to perform just once, and then that's that. I understand. There's other places where people get paid for their open mics, but that's in a much bigger market. I kind of feel like when you're doing something like that here, it's kind of exploitation because there's not that much of a market.
But nobody gets paid. That's
Right.
the thing. That's the one thing that I was really clear about, that nobody gets paid. And it's saying that I get paid or George gets paid or like everybody gets paid. It's nobody gets paid. You know, like none of that money goes to anything for anybody. Like it's like, and that's the thing that I was clearly on that chat, and we were going to discuss it. I remember a couple times, but at the times you guys couldn't make it, and that's the thing is that like none of the money is like, and like I said, you know, when you tell somebody something as a friend, you don't think they're going to take it over the top and just make it a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You really think of someone as a friend and just be like, oh, okay. But I mean, again, like you talk to someone as a friend thinking that that's going to be it until it turns into something else.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, like I guess we're not friends. You know what I mean?
I think it was more along the lines of like you guys just kind of opened it up that, hey, this is we're operating as a business, and you just kind of told a business move to somebody who's got his own kind of business and showcases.
I guess also.
So I think if anything, I don't think it was more a betrayal of trust, but maybe that other friend felt that they were being betrayed because they were being exploited. And maybe they're looking at it the wrong way, right? I'm just saying,
it's a difference.
I just personally, I hate navigating these kind of politics personally as a comedian, but I did have a lot of questions about it because I felt as soon, and I'm just going to put this out here, man, but as soon as I felt that I unveiled the mic drop stuff, I felt like I was kicked off of showcases, and you guys were talking about lineup chemistry and stuff like that, and it's just like all these little things that were like tiny things of like of chemistry. It felt very it felt very like slimy
and understandable. Like I remember when I first started, a lot of times like I used to always assume that I would be on every showcase because I started this. But then I learned that later on that if you're not putting the effort, you're not putting the work, there's no reason for that. And the thing I remember that is and like I said, lineup chemistry is a major thing. And you know, and it's horrible on the timing because you know, like everyone that starts out, like you know, you're gonna think different things, but the timing was what happens with it. when you're booking shows and you're doing stuff, like a lot of timing comes like, okay, well, we have this guy. This doesn't really work out with this one. We're going to have to do it and then hopefully get him on the next one.
Well, you do realize that it does seem like for those the people that are tuning in, maybe not so much, but for those who are kind of like on the outside looking in, it kind of just looks like you're more interested in booking people who are already members of Laredo Funny as opposed to booking any outsourced talent because I haven't been on the showcase in a while. Francisco hasn't been on a showcase in a while, and we're pretty much your only two like independent comedians at the time because we were mentioning Albert at the other time, but he's a new Laredo Funny member as well. So but I mean, like, so you have to understand that sometimes it does feel a little bit as like a not very much a personal vendetta, but like a
slight.
And I understand that. I get that a lot. And I understand how that feels. And I mean, like, I for example, I mean, you know, I remember for years helping a friend comedian. Actually, when he got his first stop, I would always help him out and lend him my equipment. And I never charged him for that. Like, and I never asked for money. And also, like, being on shows there, I never really was assuming to get paid, you know? Right. And a lot of times, I remember them telling you, hey, you need to get paid. You're doing your time. You need to get paid. And I still remember the guy telling me, he's like, you're just the opener. You don't get paid. And again, I'm a very nice person. I'm not going to be mad or anything. But a lot of people think that that's exploitation. You know, you're using my equipment that could break. And I, you know, like not even give me like $10 for it or 15. People were telling me I should have offered $50 for it for the night. But again, I'm a good friend. I'm a good person. I just happen to not do that. Right. You know, and I guess that's the thing is that a lot of times I've been taken advantage of a lot as a nice person. Yeah. And a lot of the people that I worked with before, they took a lot of advantage of me. And they would try to go around heads and just use me because I'm the founder or something, you know. And that's the thing is that, you know, I think that's exploitation. I'm like, not sure, you know. And I never once said anything about it because, you know, it's like,
I think if anything, like, and you know what, I do have to preface this, like, not preface this, but say it like after the fact. I don't want you to feel like you're in the hot seat. It's not very much a thing of like a hot seat topic at all. I have a lot of respect for you and what you do, as I do most of the other comedians who are in the scene as well. Me personally, I just feel like in terms of what's going on with the comedy scene as a whole, that these things kind of have to be out and apparent because I feel like otherwise there's just a lot of muscling in one direction or the other. And it does feel like you guys who have a lot of manpower. How many members are in Laredo Funny?
About 8, I think.
About 8.
No, 9.
Nine members of Laredo Funny. You guys have a lot of manpower versus like people like me and Francisco who are trying to do something else in the scene, and we feel like there are times that we're getting kind of on the short stick, on the you know, drawing the short stick on that end, and we still very much go to a lot of the stuff that Laredo Funny does. We promote a lot of the things that they do as well, and we go and support a lot of the mics as we do invite people. I want to say like a big part of the things that we do when we do that is like, let's say this past weekend we brought, you know, pretty much like half the crowd there, which is a lot of like the people that were friends. Is that Ashley, Vane, Orly, Kiana, like I mean that I think in itself is a lot of support, and we share the shit too. I feel like we don't kind of get any of that kind of stuff reciprocated. Do we have to? No, absolutely not. It's your own fucking choice to do that. But it does kind of feel sometimes that it's like a purposely like muscling kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Probably. And what I'd like to add to that, or not even add to that, but just kind of like an outside looking in type of deal is that, you know, when you have a team of any sorts or what have you, you know, like we have our own team with like all the podcasts that we're putting together and everything. And I mean, like you have your team with Laredo Funny and everything. And just like anything, when there's teams involved, as people, as fucking human beings, like we always, you know, want to be a part of it or what have you. And when your team is your team, even though it might not be coming like directly from you as like quote unquote the head or whatever as the founder. Yeah. I mean, you know, like you're not you can't control what other people do. No, of course. You know, to a certain extent, it's probably. I don't know. Obviously I don't know too much about the intricacy or like the nuances of behind the scenes of the comedy scene, but the way I like to rationalize it is that I mean like people are their own people, dude, and to a certain extent, you can't control everyone on your team, right? And they're gonna feel a certain way about what Laredo Funny is, and what they want that to represent, or how they'll deal with other comedians that are not affiliated with the team, quote unquote. And that's just applicable in every different sort of thing, right? Like even with like podcasting or whatever. Sometimes I know that we'll feel some type of way about other shit,
Right, yeah.
But like I try my best to be aware of that for myself, and if there's anything that like I vocalize it when I can, be like, sure, but at the end of the day, like whatever, we still have to do what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I still always think like it's a very, very much like mutual respect and not dragging anybody through the mud. And I always feel like I don't think this is out of line. And if you do, please feel free to like stop me, right? But
please feel free to walk out.
I do. I feel like this is all like kind of for the sake of transparency and for the sake of like the growth of the scene. Like I'd very much like to understand this a little bit more, and I'm sure a lot of my friends and like like fellow comedians as well would like to understand it. It wasn't a dig. I want you to understand that. But I do just want to. I did want to kind of like clear that up. What you did. But yeah, man, it's very much on the business side of things. I personally feel like I maybe it's just because I'm fairly new to the scene that I don't understand all the business meddlings of it. Like I put together the mic drop things very much at like the sake of purely for the scene, which I've been all about before. And sometimes it just kind of feels that on the opposite side of things, it's very much for the business side of it. And I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, again, like business side of it and the scene side of it. A lot of times, you're working to help out, places you're with, and you got to think of the business you're at. Like you can't the scene can't pay a bill, it can't pay the water bill. It needs to be helping with something. And a lot of times, like when you're doing business, you have to learn that you have to help your business. And that's the only thing for that, I would believe,
Yeah, and I could relate to that in a certain sense, because a lot of trying to create a scene in any way, shape, or form, or even just execute some form of vision, when it requires more than just what you're capable of, it's very hard to coordinate and orchestrate with people to actually get the vision have the vision manifested, right? And a lot of what we do, all three of us individually as like creatives or what have you, in some sense, like the endeavors that we try to, go on to, and the things that we try to achieve very much do rely on a lot of different people coordinating together. And in some cases where there's like a compensation involved, at least, I don't know, again, I'm not going to get into like the specifics of it, because obviously that's within like your realm. And where it is for me is like outside, trying to really push like the growth of the podcast scene as well. And whether like if there's like a form of money that comes into like Aliens on the Border or what have you, like I don't know. I guess I can kind of relate in the sense to where I know where you're coming from, right? Because like if not that there's any money coming in from Aliens on the Border right now, right?
No, I think what he's trying to say is like for the people that are involved at the very least, I feel like maybe there should be at least some form of transparency. Would you?
Yeah, and also, sorry, I did not mean to yell like that. Yeah, that, and also like having to understand that where in some cases there may be money moving from one way to another, to know that it's probably not going to be at least immediately in the hands of the people that are like boots on the ground immediately, right? Because the overarching brand or what have you, or just general like business that you're trying to create is going to consume most of that initially,
right?
Yeah. And it's like very much so, at least like with us, like it's very much so a vision that it's going to take a while for it to really come together, for everything to be running as smoothly as we want it to. And this is more so just me like ruminating on my thoughts as far as like where we're trying to take this, right? Or where I'm trying to take Aliens on the Border and all the podcasts as a whole to like that level, right? And I don't know if like I'm relating to you in that sense or not, but I kind of see it in that way. And when and honestly, like Roger had brought it up to me on a previous conversation, on a personal conversation, like that whole issue. And again, because I don't know the specifics of it, I was just like, well, I couldn't see where some people felt slighted in a way because I was like, yeah, like in some cases when at least in like when that whole thing went down, like the person behind it is gonna probably need some sort of money to make everything work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
but the thing is, you have to also understand that we do see the way people get compensated in other ways, sponsorships. But the door thing. One of the things that the reason why I felt like it wasn't a dig, Steve, was because when you guys mentioned also that money goes towards paying the headliner so you can get completely free shows now, I thought, you know what? All right, that makes sense because you guys don't charge for your shows now because you have your income enough to pay the people to
and also
to
pay
come
the
down
local
and
comics
pay the local comics
that
as well.
that show up on the shows.
So and I was like, okay, cool, that makes sense. But when are we going to see that as like comedians? All the comedians that are performing, are they always going to see some form of like compensation like that?
If you're on a showcase with Laredo Funny, you definitely will see that. You know.
Yeah.
That's a definite on that. Yeah.
That's all I've really got to say about that, man. I hated shifting gears like that. I just do feel like there had to be a little bit because just for the sake of like talking that kind of stuff, there did have to be a little bit of that in there. But we can totally shift gears now. Okay. What's in the future for Laredo Funny? What do you guys have like in terms of like your vision for the scene? Like what do you guys want to do differently? Is there people that you've been like kind of like prospecting to bring down? Those kind of things.
Prospecting to bring down, like you mean like recruiting or something? Or?
No, not necessarily recruiting, but like let's say there's
like
some acts that you'd be really like. I mean, like you guys ever?
Yeah. Like for the future wise, I mean, we want to keep bringing down the best local. I mean, the best local comics, and of course the best comics you could find around Texas. And we're wanting to expand for people that are from California to New York City to any other place, and hopefully to get a chance to bring down someone big,
Yeah.
Who'd
you want to bring down if you?
My favorite would be, I would love to have, what's his name? It's funny, I don't know his name. I don't know. It's just, I would love to bring down like a Ryan Sickler or like, someone like that. Or like my favorite one would be, like a Bert Kreischer or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Like, or bring Hannibal or bring Anthony Jeselnik or something like that. I
don't care for Jeselnik's style, man.
Wait, it's just the name.
I've watched his older stuff. I watched his more recent stuff. I never really cared for his stuff.
Damn, I thought that you were kind of like not sucking him off, but sucking him off. Did we? I guess it wasn't you. I thought it was you. I don't know
there
why.
was
I saw him on JRE and I was like, wait, this is the guy that Roger was saying like you got to watch his shit. But then I guess it's not.
No. It's got he's kind of always to me kind of felt like I don't know. He's got it's just one after the. It's just constant jokes, one after another. And there's not much of a setup, and there's not much of a payoff for me. I know for the other people, like people who like dark humor like that. I like dark humor when it's smart, and I feel like his dark humor is it's smart, but it's short. Yeah. That's short and to the point.
That's basically it, though. Like we wanna make sure that we can bring down some famous comics,
right?
To make Laredo something that.
How would you even go about doing something like that? Is it a matter of like
it's a matter of time,
up like promotional?
Yeah, it's a matter of waiting for the right time and waiting for the right moment. A lot of times you just have to wait. To hopefully find the right situation.
Yeah, I imagine that probably like. Money is one of the biggest factors.
Most likely,
yes.
Likely, right? But also, it's also knowing, you get a chance to maybe meet the person if they like you, and then maybe if they like
Have you met any big names?
I've only met a few. I've hung out with Bert Kreischer like twice.
Oh shit! Really?
Like it was just after his show, we would drink and stuff. And
oh dang!
He hangs out with everybody. That's the thing. Like same thing.
He's
like
still without a shirt in the after.
Oh yeah,
all the time?
even after.
Nice.
And that's the thing about trying. Cause it's all about connections. You meet someone, and if they like you, I mean, like, hey, man, I got this show down over here. If you were interested, But a lot of times it is the money. Those comics are in the range of like to 10,000 to 20, and that's why those guys, if you ever watch them doing shows, they do like maybe 5 shows. Like we're gonna be here from Thursday to Sunday, and it's like 3 shows every day because the venue has to make that equivalent for that person.
Yeah.
And of course, hotel pay and all this shit like that. I'm sorry, guys. I have to be somewhere in a little bit. I don't mean to jump like that, man, but I have to be somewhere at 11, and I'm already late.
Oh, okay, yeah, no
shit,
problem.
yeah, let's wrap it up then.
All right,
Plug.
plug your stuff, man. What do you guys going? What do you guys at Laredo Funny got going on?
I'm gonna be in San Angelo on the May 18th doing the Tilted Mug. The headliner will be Clifton Clifton Simmons. My bad. And I will be featuring that day. And from then on, whenever it comes around, I'm probably not gonna have. I'm probably gonna have a few shows, but I haven't really had them set in stone yet. So I'm not gonna really put them out yet until they're set in stone, of course. And just working on different new things and hoping maybe another open mic will pop up. And that's hopefully in the future.
Right.
And just so we can have a week of comedy. That'd be kind of cool. Just because again, like that's the thing I liked about the open mics is I just want people to have something every day, and that's how they do it in big cities. And we're not there yet, but I'm hoping that can be the goal.
So Laredo Funny, you've got your showcase keg stand this Friday.
This
That's
Friday.
May 10th at Cultura Beer Garden. Is it going to be upstairs?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Check
man.
that shit out.
Check
Yeah.
it out.
Roger?
I don't really. Oh, you know what? I have a show May 16th. That's going to be at Comedy Happy Hour with Aaron Suarez and Francisco Flores. And that day, headlining will be Patrick Siroy. I don't know how to say his last name. Sirois.
Yeah.
Sirois.
And I've heard he's a very funny dude. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him yet, but I'm excited for that. And then you can expect another mic drop on May 23rd. You've heard us talk about that a bunch. Go and check it out. There's going to be an even bigger, I think, version this next Thursday. Not next Thursday, but the next couple Thursdays. I think it's maybe like 2 or 3 Thursdays from now. So, yeah, man. Hey. Thank you very much for coming by.
Thank you for having
I
me.
really appreciate you getting on here and talking about your stuff. It's been a shit ton of fun, and I hope I didn't piss off any of your friends for asking you the questions that I asked you. So
it didn't seem like a problem. Man.
Okay, cool.
Dope. I hope we didn't scare you away, dude.
Yeah. No, definitely not. Yeah, we had a good time.
I also know that there's a show this Thursday.
Yeah, you're right. There is a show this Thursday. That's going to be
Comedy Happy Hour?
the Laugh Laredo Comedy House is going to be premiering this Thursday.
I can't wait to go to that. It's going to be a fun show.
House of Whiskey. Yeah, man. You bring out Ty Nguyen.
Guy's great.
I think Andre Ricks and Raymond Cabrera, and hosting that is Aaron Suarez. So yeah, guys, a lot of stuff going on this week in comedy. You guys have an open mic tomorrow, Wednesday at Mad Hatters?
Yes. Sign up usually is always around 10 o'clock. The doors open at 7, and they're going to have karaoke the whole night. You can go hang out, do some karaoke, and then enjoy a show. Usually we always start our shows, like we want to start them promptly around 10:30. Just try to get out. And the only thing is I understand Mad Hatters, it's a little tough to get there. So it's just like a lot of times.
I was about to ask, where the fuck is it? I don't know where it is.
It used to be 7 Days Tavern. When I tell people that, they usually know where it's at.
Yeah.
If not, it's behind the old Mami Chulas on Meadow.
Yeah, pretty much by Mami Chulas. It used to be the 7 Days Tavern. We have a video on our Laredo Funny page that tells you how to get there.
Dope.
And that's pretty much it. Hopefully we can see you all tomorrow. Hopefully you guys can make it out tomorrow.
What, do we have another podcast to do tomorrow? Oh, we have that meeting tomorrow. I'm maybe.
And Thursday we have another episode planned, but I need to reconfirm as well. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll try to get out there, man, for sure. Awesome. If not, I'll see y'all next week Monday at Cold Brew.
Great, man.
Oh, wait, you don't have one next week. The week after.
No,
I'll see you at some point.
Yeah, you'll see me.
Cool, man. Well, hey, everybody, this has been Steven Sosa from Laugh Laredo. From Laredo Funny. Jesus, it's slip of the tongue. From Laredo Funny. Make sure to follow their page. It's facebook.com/LaredoFunny. Steve, do you have like your own personal plug, like for Instagram or anything like that?
You can find me at Steven Sosa Comedy on Instagram. Steven Sosa on just basically on Facebook, and I do have a Snapchat, but I don't use it. I really been just using the Facebook story now these days.
Right. Yeah, same.
Yeah, but you can just find me there, and I'm always usually like at every open mics they have during the weeks, and if you just check out Laredo Funny, you can see all the information there and see where we are going to be at. Cool.
Hey, thanks very much for you guys tuning in. And apologies for the little bit of technical difficulties.
Yeah, that was whack.
But I had a great time talking to you, Steve. And Josh, you got anything you want to plug, dude?
Yeah, I do actually. June 7th, the first ever Fourth Dimensional Friday is coming to Club Boogaloo or Boogaloo the Rooms. It's going to be a live podcast, live audience with live music after the podcast. I'm going to be posting more about that soon, so just keep your eyes peeled everywhere, and you'll hear more about that. But anyways, this is Jordan Era by Scheme from Chicago. What up, Scheme? Peace.